Tonight, WTOC brings you team coverage starting right now with David Clue.
And I am live right here in the heart of Ellis Square, the heart of the historic district. We're not 100 yards away from where that tragic and deadly car accident happened following that police pursuit last night. Not 100 yards the other direction from where the initial shooting took place just after midnight last night. What happened here just a few yards, again, from where I'm standing, is already having an impact on the historic district. Whether you're talking about the death of a beloved restaurant operator, the reality that this kind of random violence can happen even in the busiest parts of the historic district on a very busy night, or perhaps talking about the immediate response of hotel and visitors here to Savannah looking to end their trips early or calling in to cancel reservations they already have because of the violence that's taken place over the last 24 hours. Let's get up to date on exactly what took place. Georgia Godfrey and I joined the chief and members of the city council today at a news conference. They had a lot to say about specifically what took place during that incident last night. Fill us in on exactly what happened.
That's absolutely right. Chief Lumpkin actually reviewed hours of surveillance video and talked to several witnesses. They believe that second shooting, they don't know if that's related yet to this first shooting or not, but they are still looking into that to see if Chambers may have been connected to that one as well.
Indicating that no one involved in this is new to the police, to law enforcement, to the courts here in Chatham County. All right, Gigi, thank you so much for that. These shootings, the police pursuit, the crash, certainly not happening in a vacant area of downtown, but in a very public and very busy place. You can only imagine how local business owners are feeling in this area and throughout the historic district as a result of what's happened. Danielle Luan has been talking to some of them, and they're the ones who really have a lot to lose.
Live in City Market, I'm Danielle Luan at WTOC News.
You know, there's someone else whose job gets a lot tougher when this kind of random violence dominates the headlines here in Savannah, and that's Michael Owens. He's joining me now, president of the Savannah Tourism Leadership Council. You know, when I first met you a little more than 2 years ago, we had this same discussion about the kind of impact that a single incident like this could potentially have on tourism in Savannah. What is it that's going to keep you up at nights as we move forward past this?
Well, it's incidents like this. We focus very rightfully so on the immediate impact of the crime, right? We need more results. We appreciate what we've seen.
Sure.
But we need more. We've got to save more lives.
Michael Owens, thank you so much. I appreciate you joining us once again tonight.
Thanks, David.
Another thing that I know is keeping this man up at night is the loss of a close friend, Scott Waldrop. He was struck and killed in that police pursuit when that vehicle crashed just, again, 100 yards from where we're standing now. Sean Evans is joining us now live at the Gray. That's where this gentleman, Scott Waldrop, was the general manager and, what I'm told, one of the best bartenders in the South. Sean, this has got to be hitting them hard.
Reporting live downtown, Sean Evans, WTOC News.
As expected, a lot of people turning to Facebook and other branches of social media to show their support for the Gray, Scott Waldrop, of course, and the loved ones and coworkers he leaves behind. Let me read a couple to you. Rob Gibson saying, quote, "We all loved how Scott lit up the Gray with his smile and personality and embodied, quote, service with a smile. He will be missed by many." Paul Barker saying, again on Facebook, that Scott was a true gentleman who cared deeply for every guest at the Gray. He was one of those treasures that makes Savannah so great. A lot of others commenting on social media as well. This man was known and loved by many here. You know, random violence like this, as I mentioned before, is impossible to prevent. However, it's becoming more and more clear that our neglect of the origins of this kind of crime here in Savannah are catching up to us. You know, it all becomes useless, all the extra cops, all the extra equipment, all the extra police training, unless you're doing your part. You got to keep in mind there are about 640 cops in this town. There's 145,000 of us. Ask yourself before you complain too much about the violence in Savannah, what have you been doing to address this issue? Jody, I'll send it back to you.
All right, we have more to tell you as our coverage.
David Clue joins us now live from the Glenn County Sheriff's Office.
Dawn and Mike, We made it here to Glenn County from our escape from the flooding there in Jacksonville, as you know. I'll have more at 6 o'clock on exactly the kind of damage they've suffered from the flooding and the fallen trees, both in Brunswick and on St. Simon's Island. But first, I want to share some of the sights and sounds that we experienced on our way up from Jacksonville as preparing for and now recovering from Hurricane Irma will be quite the adventure for those who have had to add Irma to their vocabulary. Not 20 miles out of Jacksonville, Highway 17 crosses the Trout River, and so too did Hurricane Irma. Hurricane Irma nearly undercut Highway 17 as you're heading north out of Jacksonville. You can see all the damage there, but that's nothing compared to what Irma did to the dozen or so boats that were anchored out here on the Trout River. None of them are left. Well, there is one sailboat still sitting out there. This $100,000 cabin cruiser, at least just for now, isn't going anywhere. Ronnie DeLoach helped his friend anchor the Just For Now. They had every expectation their investment would survive.
Probably 100,000.
Yeah.
Because it was in immaculate shape before Irma.
Yeah, thank you, Irma, right?
Yes, thanks, Irma.
Farther up 17, a gas crunch. Hundreds of evacuees from Florida found an oasis of energy off 95 and swarmed it. Some had quite an adventure getting this far.
We went out of gas after that enough to make it here, and we just went out.
So did someone help you out, or?
Yes, a cop came over, and then I told him what was going on.
Still farther up the road comes to an abrupt end. Glenn County leaders still assessing damage and clearing roads are not letting anyone near Brunswick or the islands. Or the islands, but I made this point during the noon show today, and I want to make it again because it's important. Anyone heading north or south on Interstate 95 will see the exits here in Glenn County are cut off. They are blocked off by both National Guard and Highway Patrol. However, and this is an important however, pull over, tell them you need gas, tell them you need food, tell them you need a restroom, and they'll let you in. There are additional blocks as you attempt to get farther in, but they'll let you in initially past those exits if you desperately need gas or you desperately need food. Again, more on the damage here in Brunswick and on St. Simon's coming your way on The News at 6. For now, in Glenn County, I'm David Clue, live for WTOC News.
We're getting back now to our David Clue. As you all know, David started in Jacksonville, Florida, but today he has been all throughout Glenn County. David, what have you seen?
Well, Don, I can tell you that the damage here in Glenn County, not too different than what we've seen up and down the Georgia coast, in fact, in some parts of Florida as well. Primarily fallen trees and pretty aggressive tides that have done some flooding inside homes and across streets and businesses. We're going to take you on St. Simon's in just a moment. In fact, ours the first news camera on St. Simon's since the storm passed, and their recovery there is just beginning. Enforcement in Glenn County, job one is protect the right one for most of the folks here. I can tell you the power grid here has been shattered. This is just one, well, actually it's more like 6 of the dozens and dozens of cherry pickers from power crews that have come from all over the southeast to help rebuild the grid here in Glenn County. Much of it supplying Brunswick to our east and then farther to the east, St. Simon's Island. It's going to take a while to get that done. In the meantime, the schools will be closed through the weekend. Monday, perhaps they'll reopen, but again, it really all depends on these power crews and the work they're doing right now. No word yet on exactly when they plan to start letting people back into the county who evacuated. They don't want them getting in the way of these men and women. Well, McIntosh County also just got a slashing from Hurricane Irma. Our Jamie Ertl is there and joins us live.